Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Let me check. How's everyone doing? Is this audible? Yeah, I guess it should be. Hello, 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 hello. I am trying a new mic. So just let me know if you all can hear me. If yes, then we can go ahead. Hopefully, yes. Let me check. Hey, 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 hello. Sorry, just doing a bit of setup. Okay, so am I audible? That's my first question. This is one of the things on a digital setup, right? Am I audible? Hopefully, I am. So, welcome to Global Hack Week, Gen AI Week, and we are here to have some fun, have some learning. And who am I? My name is Utkarsh, but I prefer to go by UT. That's how everyone knows me in MLH, in Major League Hacking. And I've been streaming in every Global Hack Week nearly. So yeah, I've been here for a long, long, long time. I I was supposed to do a count check of how many streams I've done, but I forgot to do that. But anyways, I can do it tonight, and then I can share that with everyone tomorrow. So, who am I? I am a coach at Major League Hacking. I also do streaming as as that's why I'm here, right? And I love to share or impart any knowledge that I've gained over the couple of months, over the couple of years. And for Gen AI Week, and this might sound a bit different from what I normally do. I normally stick to streams, the theme topic, more like that. Oh, if it's beginner week, we'll do some beginner level stuff. If it is data week, we'll do some data stuff. But for Gen AI week, I have even like I'm not 100% sure on what I could have learned in such a short amount of time. So I thought let's go with what I am comparatively better at. I would not say I'm very like best, but I can comparatively have some more knowledge of web development. So I realized that I've never done any canvas or anything related to drawing tools on the Global Hack Week streams. So here I am, uh, going to build a Doodle application using React and TypeScript. It will be like the assumption. Let's set the baseline for these streams. The assumption would be that you know a bit of React, you know a bit of JavaScript, uh, for this particular session and the consecutively next three other sessions. So I have like 4 sessions, 2 hours each, so 8 hours of your time will be spent with me in building this platform. We'll do live coding, we will build the platform, it will be available on GitHub. uh, I'm going to follow a checkpoint approach this time. That is something that I kind of came across recently, and also was a suggestion from someone, that try a checkpoint based approach where we will at every checkpoint push all the code that we have written, and you can definitely clone it, you can download it, you can copy paste it, and you should have a running application. It will not have any errors, it will be an up and running application, but it might not do everything. Okay, so we will write code, we will improve on it, so we will be changing the code that we have written frequently. uh, but overall it would be a nicer experience, I feel, so that at any point you can just go into the commit history on GitHub and copy all the code at that particular instance. I have already committed two things, but you don't have to worry about it right now. uh, this is just so that I could get my local environment set up, so that I have done, so that's fine. uh, we will be using Wheat for this project. If you have been into my previous streams, you know that I prefer to use Wheat over building a whole custom uh, bundling or whatever tool. Yes. So we'll be using Wheat, and yeah, that's it. Now, there is one quick, slightly deviating announcement. So uh, if you're new here to my stream, then that's fine. You can completely ignore this. But if you have been here before, so in the last Global Hack Week, we during the open source week, we were refining this color palette generator. I have I pushed some changes like around 3 weeks ago, as it says, but this is not deployed. uh, I will. I was working on it yesterday, but I have not pushed the changes yet. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. This repository. It is a color palette generator application which we built as part of Global Hack Week, Open Source Week a year ago, then a month ago, and I am continuing to build this. The latest version is not deployed, so it's not available on Netlify yet, which is fine. I am I was not happy with what I had, so I rewrote most of it. uh, yeah, that is a quick, slightly deviated announcement. Anyways, coming back. So, what can you expect from the stream? You can expect a fully up and running, functional canvas application where you can draw, you can doodle. Basically, that's why this would be a doodle platform, as I say. uh, you will be able to use a brush to draw something, use eraser. Will have a undo functionality to undo the recent changes, clear the canvas, draw some predefined shapes like a line, a rectangle, excuse me, line, rectangle, circle. And we'll be also able to save this thing as a PNG image. So whatever you have drawn on your canvas can be saved as a PNG file. So uh, yeah, you can basically take this platform and insert or inject it anywhere. The reason why I came to a canvas platform is because I was rebuilding my personal website as well. Don't ask me why, just because the reason. uh, and I was like, I want to add a fun element to my platform, so that sometimes I have thoughts that I want to kind of capture quickly, or sometimes I just want to draw, scribble, let's say. So I want to add a notepad on my personal website, uh, which I am rebuilding using Astro. Don't ask why Astro, just because. Uh, so I was rebuilding it using Astro. It's not completed yet. And I was like, I want to add two fun elements, or something like a note taking, note capturing elements, so that I can, just visit my own personal website if I want to quickly note down something. So for text notes, I'm adding a notepad, which is fine, just a text box, maybe some saving features there, which will be stored in the local storage. But for drawing, I did not have anything. Uh, so I was like, let's create my own. I'll also learn about Canvas API that ways. So that's how I came to this project. And I was like, it would be a cool project for Global Hack Week as well. I'm pretty sure people would love to know how you can draw on a web page. Okay. I think that's good enough introduction. Now let's move on to the work bit. So I'm going to use VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code. If you don't know about it, you can download it from this link. There you go, Visual Studio Code. You also need to have Node.js installed on your system, which you can find by going over to Node.js website. There you go. You can download Node.js from here. And yeah, these are two main things. Or you can also download it from the homepage directly. So I'll also share that link. So these are the two main things that you need, Node.js and uh, a code editor. Now, my preference is Visual Studio Code because I personally think that you can technically just do anything uh, with like use any programming language, write in any programming language in a text editor without having a full-fledged IDE, and you can add and remove stuff as and when necessary. So that's why Visual Studio Code is my preference. But apparently there are a lot of code editors with AI built in now. Not apparently, I know that there are. uh, so feel free to use whatever code editor you like, whatever IDE you like. There is one question here, which is this for beginner friendly? Not completely, because I said that there is an assumption in this stream that you have some knowledge of JavaScript. I will try to break down the concepts as much as I can. But yeah, please assume that there is a slight requirement of knowing at least, okay, let's say you need to know a programming language. Doesn't have to be JavaScript. Uh, I can draw parallels between, let's say, Python, or I guess only Python. I don't know what happens in Java. So I can draw some parallels, but you need to know a programming language. Could be anything to know this. Okay. Next, as I had said, that the code will always be available on the GitHub repository. So the link is in the chat. So please ensure you can have this open on the side, and at every point I'll push this code. And finally, before we move ahead and before I forget, I hope you all have registered for the stream. If you have not registered, please do. Okay, I cannot stress enough on it. Please do register for this session. The link is in the chat. uh, so please do register. This helps you keep a track of the sessions you have attended, helps MLH keep a track of sessions you have attended, helps me keep a track of people who have attended my streams. It's beneficial for everyone. And if you register, that's how we know that you're going to get the points. So please do register for the stream. I have a 4-hour stream today, which will be broken in part one, which is the one that is running right now. Then we'll have a 15-minute break, and then I'll start another stream for part two. And I'll post a message on Discord chat, of course, so you can go and check that out. So part one, 15-minute break, part two, and that would be end of today. Tomorrow I have two streams again, part three, then 1 hour break in between, and then part four. So I would just say that we have quite some time between the streams and enough time to complete this project. Okay, now let's move to the initial setup. Okay, so as I said, we'll go for a very step-by-step approach. Step one is to initially set up the project. I have something already in my repository. This is just so that I could set up my GitHub properly, because I have two GitHub accounts and VS Code does not allow you technically to have two GitHub accounts. So this is, I had to do some manual setup for it. Anyways, okay, so step one, we are going to use React, we are going to use Vite. I am going to set up a Vite project. So to do that, we are going to go over to Vite website. You can find the link in the chat. And We are going to use TypeScript because who doesn't love types, right? Who does not love types? Uh, on a side note, no one. No one does. uh, because it's difficult. It becomes very difficult very quickly. But I hope what I do today will help ease that problem. So we are going to start a new project. I am going to, because it's going to complain that this is not an empty repository, I am just going to paste this command. There are two things that need to change. Step one is on towards the end. This pre-written command is for a Vue template, but we want a React TypeScript template. So I'm going to change Vue to React TypeScript. And the project name. The project name would actually be uh, Doodle dash platform. Actually, let me see what I wrote it or wrote on GitHub. It is GHW Doodle platform. So I'll keep the same. So GHW dash Doodle dash platform. And this is the command that you all need to run on your machines if you are following along. You could also do another thing, which is just wait for me to push this. Once it is pushed on GitHub, you can fork this repository. Forking basically means that you're copying everything that I have onto your GitHub account. Okay, this is my GitHub account. You can fork and copy this whole repository onto your GitHub account. Once you have done that, once you have forked it to your GitHub account, go to your GitHub account, click on this code, and click on the local clone. Okay, so you can clone via HTTPS, SSH, or if you have GitHub CLI installed, you can clone via that. How is that helpful? Since you have forked the repo, uh, every time I make a change, every time I push code on your account, on your forked version, you would actually see a button saying, do you want to sync everything that this account, like that I have done, onto your code base? So that ways you don't have to copy paste. It will always be in sync on your GitHub. To learn more about Git and GitHub, we have sessions every GHW about how to get good with Git. Okay. There must have been, yes, there was a session, depends on which time zone you're in, but yesterday and today, yesterday, I guess, yes, yesterday, 13th, there was one session yesterday. So, and there have been multiple sessions over the years on how to get good with Git. So you can learn more about Git and forking and cloning and setting up Git properly, understanding GitHub and how they are two different entities. Sometimes people get confused. So you can watch those streams to learn more about it. But anyways, going back to my project, I'm going to just hit enter at this point. Did I? Okay. And I'm going to do one more thing. It has created a new folder, but I want to move all of this outside here. So I am going to just delete this git ignore because I already have created one. I don't want this readme. This is the default readme that is generated. And everything else, I'm just going to do a command X or control X and paste it outside. Why did I do this? Because I have a folder created already. That's the only reason. You don't have to do this. And this is the command that I ran. It should be in the chat. Cool. So the command that I ran basically said that the project has been created. The command itself is create wheat at latest. So get the latest version of wheat, the project name or the folder name, and then which template to use. You can always create a wheat application without any template if you want, but I like the React TypeScript template, so I'm just using that. Okay. So when I do that, once you have done that, you will see that it creates some folders, some files, which is nice. Uh, but you will see these errors. Okay, why? Because even though it has created the folders, it has not done the npm install. What does npm install do? It installs these dependencies and def dependencies. So currently they are only listed, they are not installed. They are two that is they are two different things, okay, being listing and installing. So right now we are going to this is just listed, we have to install these dependencies. If you have been to my previous sessions, then you know how much I love talking about version pinning. Okay, so I do not want my dependencies to automatically upgrade underneath. So these caret symbol or like that up arrow, uh, I do not like that. So I am going to remove all of it. I'm not going to rant about why you should have exact versions right now. I'm also going to remove this tilde version. So this that ways I have everything set up. I can also upgrade the versions to latest. So if I hover over it, this says 9.29 was published like 16 hours ago. So I can do that. 290. This is 19.1.8, which was published a few days ago. 19.1.6. Okay, let me update that as well. VHS plugin 4.5.2. ESLint 9.29.0. React Hooks 5.2.0, which is the latest already, 0.4.20, which was published 1 month ago. Globals has 16.2.0. I'm just upgrading all the dependencies to the latest versions. Why? Just so that it is comparatively uh, newer. 8.34.0 and wheat goes to 6.3.5. Okay, perfect. All the dependencies have been updated to the latest. There is a question here, using Tailwind. Actually, no, I'm not going to use Tailwind this time. I used it in the last project, but I want to use module CSS this time. Okay, so module CSS is like we'll talk about it when we get to it. Okay, I think that would be the first time I have ever used it on a stream. I use it day to day and I think it's pretty cool. It's not very different from CSS itself, uh, but yeah, I want to use module CSS. Okay, there is a question, why not use package lock JSON? Because it's not generated yet. The package lock has not been generated because we have not done npm install. So now let's do npm install and that will generate the package lock. Now remember, with package lock, the first time you install everything, if let's say you had caret or tilde symbol, okay, and even though I've upgraded my dependencies to the latest right now, let's say it was not latest, okay, the caret symbol will actually in package lock change this 9.28.0 to 9.29.0 because that's what this caret symbol allows it to do, and that would be installed in my package log. So I would assume that it is 9.28.0. Internally it is 9.29.0, and that is nice. Most of the times that is fine. But then if sometimes internally, let's say you delete your package lock for any reason and you reinstall and there is 9.30.0, package lock will install that, and it's very difficult to then pinpoint any dependency errors that could have been caused because of upgrades. So that is why I love version pinning. I think I've ranted again. Anyways, let's do npm install. So npm install should create a node modules folder, and it will also create a package lock. There we go, node modules created and a package lock created. So package lock is, as the name says, it is the locked version of all the packages that have been installed. See, internally it does tilde caret. Okay, but all I care about is to ensure that the versions that I have defined in package JSON are the version in package lock. Okay, there is this thing, created in scaffold using install without modify. That is fine. That is completely fine. I was just sharing my preference, but it is okay to not change these versions and just install the exact version. The other trick I use to install latest version is creating a npm rc file, or you can say a npm configuration file. In here, you can specify save dash exact equals true. So this will tell npm to always install any new libraries with the exact version. Do not add that caret symbol or tilde symbol. Okay, install the exact versions. Let's go around the project and let me, now that everything is installed, those errors are gone. A few changes that I will do before we push it. Server, I'm going to set port to, not port, open to true. Okay, why? So that every time I do a dev command, which is to run my project, it should automatically open in the web browser. I do not want to go, like, I'm that lazy, as you can imagine. uh, so that is why this particular line. Also, let me know if the screen size is proper for you all. If it's too small, let me know. I think this is zoomed in enough. Not going to change anything here, not going to change anything in this, not going to change anything here. Readme was created previously, I had created it, so that's fine. This is fine. uh, Not checking the package log. Index.html, I'm going to call this as Doodle platform. Okay, that's it. ESLint config, I guess, yeah, not changing anything here. npm rc we just created, git ignore is fine. This is fine. Main.tsx, I am going to rename this index.css to main.css. Why? So that later on I'll create a, like, there is an app.tsx and there will be a corresponding css file. So whatever file name I create, I'll create a css file for that name. So if there is a main.tsx file, I will have a main.css file. So I'm going to call this main.css, and this is fine. This is fine. Main.css, I'm going to delete everything, so it is empty. App.tsx, going to delete everything again, and I'm going to use, like, I have a shortcut installed. I don't know which, not a shortcut, an extension installed. I don't know which one. I think it is this one. React Redux type, React Native snippets, which allows me to write these shortcuts like RAFCE, which is React arrow function with export. It creates a React arrow function and also does the export default. So I'm going to use that. You don't need to import React because it's available. So that is bare minimum. App.css, going to get rid of anything in, actually I'm going to delete this. Assets folder, we don't need that. I'm going to delete it. And in public, there is a wheat logo. I can leave it for now, or I can delete it. It's fine. Let's leave it. Anyways. Okay. So this is my bare minimum application. Let's see if it's still up and running. So I'm going to do npm run dev. So that should start the local dev version. So now when I visit, so it opened in my another browser, so that's why it did not open up by default. uh, don't worry, the open true works. Okay, and all it says is app. There is app written. Where is that coming from? So in my main.tsx, it calls this app file. Okay, okay, so this app file is, has a div element which has app written here. So if I change this to hello from GHW, if I go there, I don't have to refresh because of wheat, which will do a update, will reload, and I can see the latest here. Okay, now let me see a few questions. So similar to nodemon is different. Nodemon restarts your server. I'm assuming you are talking after I made this server open to true. It just opens this link on a web browser. So now that my web browser is set, if I control C it and I run this again, actually, let me also delete this. Yep. Control C. Let's run it again. It again opened in my other browser, but it does open automatically. Let me see. Can I do something? Anyways, uh, so it will open on your browser. And the question is, how am I getting autocomplete? Is it Z shell? Yes, it is. And I have it set up with autocompletions package. So ZSH autocompletions. That's why I get those suggestions from my previous history as well. Next is, will this be saved somewhere to watch later? And yes, the answer is YouTube. And you can let me also share the link to the YouTube channel of Major League Hacking. You can find this session and all the previous sessions from, I don't know, whenever GHW has been running since, on the YouTube channel of of Major League Hacking. So there you go. That's the link to the YouTube channel. Okay, cool. Okay, now in my main.css, since I had deleted everything, I just want to add one thing there before we move ahead, which is a CSS reset. Okay, so what is CSS reset? So CSS by default, let's actually, do I not have it up and running? Yep, I didn't. So let me start it again, and it opened again automatically on my other browser. Anyways, so there is some default CSS applied, okay, on the page. I want to ensure that any CSS that I add takes, like, does not override the, like, sorry, the, I do not want to calculate any default styles that are applied by the browser. So that is why we want to do some CSS reset. It's not much. So I'm saying star, which means for every element that exists, ensure that the margin is going to be 0, the padding is going to be 0. So you see a difference. Suddenly it has stuck to top left. If I don't have this, you see the difference. So there is some default style that is applied, okay, to a div element, to the body element, I would say. Yes, there is a default margin of 8 applied to the body. I have not specified it anywhere. Okay, there is no other CSS file, but it just gets applied by default by the browser. I do not want that, and that is why this whole margin 0 and padding 0. The third thing is that uh, box sizing, border box. Okay, so what does this say? That where do you want to calculate your borders from, and or borders from, or your margin from, your padding from, at from what point? And I'm saying that we want to do it from border dash box. You can read more about it here. Like, what is the difference? So the box sizing is content box, box sizing content box, box sizing border box. You see the difference? If it is box sizing content box, it can overflow from its parent. But if it's border box, the parent tells it that you have maximum this space. You can read more about it by going to this amazing article on MDN. Okay, tells browser to account for any border and padding values that you specify for an element's width and height. So this is kind of us resetting the CSS, the browser applied default CSS. The second thing that I want to do is have for the HTML and the body, I want to set the background color to be something like grayish. Okay, like off white, I think is one of the ways we can call it. So the background is not pure white, it is slightly off white because our canvas will be pure white. So that is why by default I've applied this background color. uh Another thing is I am going to say that margin would be 0 auto. So by default everything would be center align except for the text, so this does not apply to text. So I'm also going to say that text align should be center. There we go. And the font family, I do not want Times New Roman. I love sans serif fonts, I would say. So font family, I'm going for the Arial. So the again the defaults, and there we go. This is how it looks right now, and that is it. I'm going to change this to Doodle platform. I also have another extension installed which is called as Prettier. I hope I do. Yep. So Prettier formats your code. It formats these files. So if you want to have the same formatting as me, you can install Prettier extension. It has this official blue tick. So that's how you know that it is official Prettier plugin. And you can then do format document with to set it up. I have set Prettier as my code formatted default. So you and I will have the same formatting of the files. And then you can always use the shortcut. For me, it is Option Shift F. I think on Windows it would be Alt Shift F, and you can just do format document. So that's what I keep doing, and that's why my like if I let's say do this, okay, and I do Option Shift F, it automatically accounts for the spaces and just makes those changes. Okay, so I think this is my step 0 still. Even though I had made a previous commit with step 0 uh, of initial commit, I want to override this to have my initial commit account for all these changes, account for the scaffolding of the application. So I am just going to do that. Actually, let me increase the size of this because you might not be using this in your day-to-day life about amending a commit. So I think it would be a good thing to show. So I want to amend the previous commit. So first let's see what commits do I have. So you can do git log -- one line, and it will tell you how many commits you had before. So for me, I had one commit before, which was step 0 initial commit. I can press Q to get rid of that. Now I want to do a git add, and dot means everything in this current folder. Which current folder am I in? I'm in GHW MLH Gen AI week. So everything inside this current folder, add all of that. So now you will see that there is this A written next to it, which means this has been added. And if you go over to this uh, on your GitHub, on your VS Code, on this third option, which is to check your source control, you will see that these are all staged changes. Previously, they were inside the changes, but now they are inside the staged changes. Okay, two different things. Before git add, they would be they would be under the changes, that these are the things that you have changed, and now they are inside under stage changes, which means that these are ready to be pushed. Now if I do a git status, so these are the changes ready to be committed. Now I want to amend my previous commit. So as the name says, I'm going to do git commit -- amend, and I'm going to hit enter. You don't have to do it because you don't have a previous commit. I have a previous commit, so I'm going to amend that commit. So it says, okay, this was your previous commit, and these are the new changes that will be added to your previous commit. I'm like, okay, yep, sounds helpful. Escape colon WQ, which means write and quit. The previous commit has been amended, and now I need to do a git push. And since I have made a change in the Git history, I have to do a force push to override this Git history. Remember this number, it is 84120AF. And I'm going to do a git push force. And now if I reload here, it still says one commit, but the commit ID has changed, commit number has changed. Okay. And now my commit contains all these changes. And this plus basically indicates that these were added. Okay, cool. So I've amended my previous commit, and that's it. Step 0 has everything. Again, please note, you don't have to amend a commit because you do not have a previous commit. I had one, I amended it. That's it. There is a question, what if we don't do a force? If you don't give a force at the end for when you amend a commit, then your git will be like, there's a mismatch in the history. There was a previous commit with the number 84021AF, whatever the number was before this. It will be like, there was a previous commit which had this commit ID. You have made a new commit where you have overridden the ID, and your remote is telling that this does not match. Your remote in this case is GitHub. It'll be like, this does not match. I think you're making a mistake. I think you should first pull everything and then you push. So you want to tell it that I'm not making a mistake. I'm confident in the change that I'm doing. Just listen to me. And that's why we add the additional -- force to force override the previous commit. Hopefully that made sense. Okay. So that's done. Excuse me, sorry. And I force overridden everything. Now if I do a git log one line, it still says there is only one commit, which is this one. Okay, cool. Let's go back to our code. So we have done the initial commit. Let's see if our project still works. I'll divide this into 2. I'll also move away from the screen so that you can focus solely on this. Perfect. This time it opened or refreshed automatically, this one. Okay, and this is where my local dev server is running, and on the left I'll do all the git commits. Okay, everything is pushed. Now let's start making changes. So the first change that I want to make is to create a canvas component. Okay, the bare minimum, the basics. Let's start from there. So step 1, I am going to create a new component. So if you're new to React, what is not component? I'll call this canvas component .tsx. Okay, canvas component, not components, component .tsx. There are not going to be multiple canvas components. There will be one. So if you're new to React, like this is my attempt at explaining it quickly without spending too much time. Let me come on screen so that there's some body language there. So in React, what you're writing is JavaScript, and when you build it, what Vite does is it takes all the JavaScript files that you have created. In this case, this is a type. Oh, we'll come to TypeScript actually. You write JavaScript. So what Vite does is it takes all your JavaScript files, combines them into a one single JavaScript file. There is one HTML, and there will be one CSS or maybe 1 or 2 CSS files created. Okay, your browser, which in this case would be Chrome, understands only 3 kinds of files for this. Not 3 actually, it understands a lot. It understands SVG, it understands PNG files, it understands JPEG images, it understands video, audio, a lot of things. But to display something, you need these 3 things. You need a HTML file, you need which will be your skeleton, your CSS, which would be your styling, and your JavaScript for interactivity. That's it. These are the only 3 things that your browser would understand. So, and in React, we are writing only JavaScript. So, what would happen now? Uh, Wheat would do all the magic beneath. But what are these JavaScript files that you're writing? And why are you writing so many of them? So React promotes the concept of dividing things into chunks of components. Okay. A component would be like a building block for your project. So you can have one component like an input box. And let's say you want a red colored input box. I mean, you could technically color it red, but okay, input box, and you want a form. Okay, a form can have multiple input boxes, right? So input box is your smallest building block, your component, and your form is a bigger component which will have multiple input boxes inside that. So React promotes this idea of dividing your things into multiple components so that they are building blocks, and you use the JavaScript, like the React property of composition. You compose a layout. You do not just dump everything into one file. You compose your layout. Now I'm explaining this, but I'm going to technically dump most of the code in Canvas component. Uh, but yeah, just to understand, the idea of component comes from there. You compose it by dividing it into smaller pieces and then adding one layer inside another layer, and you build your web page, your view. You build your view that ways. Okay, so that's the idea of components. And I said JavaScript, but here, so normally for JavaScript, your extension would be JS. The JSX basically means the extension for JavaScript, where you're using HTML like syntaxes inside JavaScript. That's what the JSX stands for. Very simply, mm, I would say, very basic definition would be that. And your TSX is your TypeScript uh, way of writing JavaScript, where you also define the types to things. Okay, so that is why this is called TSX. This will tell my IDE and my like ESLinter, my IDE, that hey, keep checking for types. If types are missing, complain, or if types don't match, complain. Okay. Uh, okay, cool. So let's write some pieces of code. So in my Canvas component, let's start with the bare minimum, which is, actually let me write it down so that you know how. If you don't have that extension installed, you can still do this. So I'm going to name the function same as the file name. All we create is functions. Canvas component. And since it is a function, it can take a prop. Okay, I'm not giving it any prop right now. So this is prop is nothing but an input. Okay, a function can take in some parameters. Example, if you want to create a function to add two numbers, which is, I think, the very basic thing, then you will pass it two numbers, right? You will say that, oh, you will receive two numbers, two random things, and what you have to do is you have to return a plus b. So now this will always assume that a will be passed into me. So whenever you want to use this, you will say sum of two, and let's pass in two numbers. You will say, oh, one is 10 and one is 12, and this will return 10 plus 12. It should be 22, I think, if my math is still mathing. uh yeah. So you can pass it some property, some parameters, but you can also not pass it something. And inside here, just do console.log saying that hello. So you can just call the function without any parameters. So this is what is a function, very simply. So I'm saying that here's a Canvas component which is a function, and it takes in some parameters. Currently it does not take anything, and it will return something. So in my case, I want it to return some HTML looking code, which is JSX, and it is going to be a div. Actually, let me wrap it in brackets. So a div with a h1 saying Canvas component. file. Okay, so now canvas component is created, and this is what it is returning. It is not returning some variables or console log, it is returning a HTML like syntax, JSX. It is returning JSX, and while it is returning it, this file, there is this red squiggly line saying that, oh, blah blah blah. But ignoring that, what it is saying is you have created something, but this is not exported from this file. You need to export it so that React can understand or and then use it somewhere. Okay, so let me do that. I'm going to say export default canvas component. Export default says there is one thing default exported from this file that should be used in another file. What is default exported by default? This canvas component, which is a function. So there is one function that is exported by default from here. Now in my app, I can just go there and let me wrap this in brackets as well. My div tag, okay, let that be. I am going to change that div tag to a main just so that it is better. I'm going to add a h1 here saying that this is doodle canvas. So a main, and inside that h1, and after that, you saw what we exported by default from there, right? The canvas component. So I'm going to do canvas component, which will be imported from current folder, go inside this canvas file. So canvas component, and I'm just going to auto close this. Okay, so this is a how do I explain this? You can think that this file does not have anything else wrapping. Okay, let's take this main wraps two things. So that is why you start the main and you end it here by doing this backslash and closing the main, which also, what is main? Main is nothing but very simply the HTML element. Okay, you can read about it on MDN again. So that is your main, your normal HTML main, and that takes in children. Okay, it has some children wrapped inside it. That is why it starts, you add some children, and then you close it. Canvas component does not take in any children. Okay, there's nothing else, so that is why it is self closing. You could also just close it like this. Okay, you do not, if you don't add anything here, it will be assumed that this does not take any children inside or does not render anything else. So that is why it is empty. So you could write it like this. If I go over to my Doodle platform, reload, just because, fine, it still works. But you can, since it does not take any children, there is nothing else rendering inside it, I can make it self closing and it still looks the same. So nothing changes, it's just you can avoid writing that additional thing. Okay, I am going to style this h1. So I'm going to do style, and I'm going to do inline style first. So I'm going to say text align, should be center align. By default, everything will be center align because of my main.css, but just doing something. Color, let's go for grayish color, let's say. And margin bottom would be 20 pixels. I'm writing some inline styles. I'm not writing the style in a CSS file. This is inline way of writing styles. Uh, and some, not margin actually. Let's say some padding. Padding, I want padding on top and bottom. Let's say 4 pixel and nothing on left and right. So 0. Okay. And that's the basic style. So if I go back, there we go, there is a slight difference in the color. If I zoom in enough, I don't know if it is actually visible. If I make it like something like this, So you know it gets applied, but let's go with a grayish one for the time being, I think. Okay. So, what is happening? So, in our code, we have a h1, which is the heading, and there we go. And then whatever we were rendering from the JavaScript file, the canvas component function, is also rendered right here. Okay, so in the same DOM. So let me go over to inspect. So what has happened is that Vite has taken those two files, two JavaScript files, or more like three JavaScript files, and it has tried to render everything in the same DOM. It has kind of combined it. So as I said, you'll end up with one JavaScript file. Okay. And this is one JavaScript file combined together. And it has taken these JSX and converted them to a normal HTML. If you go over to a network tab, clear everything, reload, you should see that it downloads these many things. It downloads one document, which is your HTML, index HTML, okay, Doodle platform. Then it downloads some CSS, which is nothing apparently. Clear, disable cache, and hard refresh. Wonder where the CSS went. Oh, maybe it's inside it, possibly. Oh, there is main.css. As I said, there would be at least one CSS file, main.css, downloaded, and it downloads a bunch of JavaScript. Some of them are related to React, which you can ignore. What we care about is this app.tsx. Okay, this is the one that we have been writing. And yeah, that's it. Cool. Let me close this. I think I've taken enough time to explain HTML and CSS. I was also zoomed in a bit, so I've also removed that zoom. Cool, that's it. Now, app.tsx, I think this is good enough. Let's go to a canvas component and let's actually add some stuff to our canvas component. Also, let me just okay, my setup. Okay, canvas component. We want to do a bunch of stuff, but let's start with the very basic. So the very basic, I'm going to remove this h1 for the time being, and I am going to use canvas as a element. So canvas is a HTML tag, technically. You can read more about it here. If you go to canvas, it is nothing but the HTML canvas element uh, with multiple things, but it is your normal HTML tag. Okay, canvas, normal HTML tag. Now, not all web browsers support canvas API. Okay, so canvas allows you to literally create a blank canvas for drawing. Okay, so for drawing, predefined drawing, or whatever you are drawing, canvas allows you to do that inside of, like, on your web page in when you use this canvas tag. But since not all browsers support canvas, you can have a fallback message. So in this case, the fallback message could be your browser does not support canvas API. Okay, some very simple things. We won't see that on our one because our browser supports canvas API. But if you have Internet Explorer, I think 9 or 10, one of those, Internet Explorer 9, Internet Explorer 8, that will show the message that your browser does not support canvas API. So this is the fallback message for your canvas API. Now, for our canvas, we can like since it's a normal HTML element, there's nothing special about it. We can just give it some style as we were doing before to our H1. So let's do some inline styling. I'm going to do inline styling until the very end when I move everything to a CSS file. So border, let's say 2 pixel solid border, and let's go with 333. So now if I go back, there we go. This is where our canvas is going to be. And it has the same color as my background. So I also want to change that. I want the background color to be white, which is, you can actually use the name. White is proper name. And you see the difference between the two, right? The background and the canvas. Okay, that is gray, this is white. Or you can also go for the hex code for white, which is FFFFFF. Cool. So that is my canvas background. uh, what else? We can give it some border radius. Currently the borders are edgy, so I want to give it border radius as, let's say, 8 pixels. And there we go. Nicely looking, right? But it's too small. This is too small an area to draw something. So I'm going to give it a width of, let's say, 800 pixels and a height of 600 pixels. And now this is much bigger area to draw. 800 pixels width and 600 pixels height. Perfect. I can also go 850 width. Yep, that's slightly bigger area. For the timing, this is good enough. And the cursor, you can have multiple cursor options. So if you see, the cursor options are cell, call, resize, copy, crosshair. So crosshair is the cursor that I'm using. So if I go there, you see the cursor is now a plus symbol. It does not draw anything yet, but we are getting the feeling of a canvas slowly and steadily, right? So there's a canvas with the cursor style crosshair. So outside it is a normal arrow. Inside it is this plus symbol, uh, which is a better drawing, like which is better for drawing slash. That's what normally you would use. Okay, so that's our canvas styling. I think that is done. Nothing else to add here. The div which is wrapping the canvas, we can style that as well. We can say display is a flexbox, justify content to be in center, and let's add a padding around of 20 pixels. Okay, so the div is outside of this canvas, remember that. So there's my div, which is applying this padding of 20 pixels from all sides. So it has squished my canvas to be inside that. And this is my canvas, which has a border of 2 around. So that is why, even though I have said 850 to be the width, because we are saying that account the border in the calculation of this width and height, that is why it says that the canvas itself has only 846 width. Okay, because 2 and 2 4 are lost in the border. So that is what the border box does. It allows, so it tells your browser to calculate the width and height depending on other parameters that are set. If you set a border, take that into account for calculating the width and for height. Okay, cool. So that's our canvas set, but I will say HTML5 canvas API because I'm a stickler to numbers. proper numbers. So while this is set up, it does not draw anything, and I don't think this is a very good step one or checkpoint one. So I am going to improve this. How do we do that? So to draw on a canvas, you need to know, or you need to tell your JavaScript that, hey, I want to, when the user clicks on the mouse, I want you to draw something, do something on the canvas. Okay. And drawing is nothing but coloring the pixels. Okay. Everything is made of pixels. So all you're saying is that I want to color the pixels. You set a particular color, you set a few more properties, and that's done. So how do we tell our code that, you know what, I want you to take note of this canvas, take this into account, this 850 cross 600. That's what, yeah, 850 cross 600. Take this box into account, and inside this box, I want you to draw something. So we want to hold a reference to this canvas. Okay, focus on the word. We want to hold a reference to this canvas. So we are going to use a React property called as use ref. Okay, what is use ref? You can read like all about it on react.dev. But I will try to explain it my way, the way I have learned and understood use ref. So use ref, as the name suggests, it allows you to hold a reference to something. So what is this reference? So example, currently this my canvas is is using this div, this canvas, this canvas component is using this div, this canvas, and technically these are nothing but the DOM element. Okay, these are nothing but the DOM elements. uh, DOM is document object model. It is what the browser renders on the screen. Okay, that is your HTML, very simply. Now if I want to get a reference to this canvas, how can I do that? I can assign an ID to my canvas. Okay, because, well, why can't you? It's your normal HTML attribute to assign ID to an element. So I'm going to say that the ID to this element is doodle canvas. Now if I go to my browser, okay, and on my browser, you just have to listen to this, you don't have to do this, just to understand, I want to get a reference to this canvas. What I can do is I can say document dot, since I've assigned it an ID, and IDs are supposed to be unique. So when you assign an ID, ensure that it is unique. So I can do get element by ID and find a doodle canvas ID, and I hit enter, and it returns me this thing. Okay, it returns me like this selection. Like if I hover over it, it selects this particular canvas that we have created. Now I can assign it to a variable, like if I want, right? I can say const uh, doodle equals document dot get element by ID doodle canvas. So now doodle has that reference. So doodle dot, now I can do anything on this. I can say dot style dot background color is equal to pink. Okay, I can technically tell it, I assign or change the background color to pink. Why? Because my variable holds a reference to my canvas. Does that make sense till now? I hope it does. S- I mean, it's, yeah, try to break it down as simple as possible, which is, if you're new to React world or you're new to JavaScript, I hope that makes sense. So by get element by ID, we got a reference to this. I assigned it to a variable, and now I can perform some manipulations, some normal HTML like manipulations uh, on my doodle canvas by, let's say, setting this background color style, style dot background color to pink. Now to do this in React, you can use the use reference, where you tell it that take a reference or note down this particular HTML element. Okay, keep that in your memory, keep that in your mind between re-renders. What is re-render? Anytime there is a state change. State, what is state now? So state is nothing but anytime some value changes, React does a recalculation and it re-renders. So if it re-renders, then you might lose this variable value. So if you have this variable where you do const doodle equals document dot get element by id, and after re-render, if this changes to doodle canvas 1, you will lose reference to it. Refs, on the other hand, are persisted even when the re-render happens. Okay, React will remember your element that you have pointed to. It will remember the variable value initially that you have used, even after, even between re-renders. Okay, unless you do a reload and re-render are two different things, by the way. Okay, sometimes people confuse it. So after reload, it will of course forget it about it, but between re-renders, it will remember the value of your element. It will remember what it is holding a reference to. So refs survive re-renders, and they are a way to cheat, basically. Okay, you can tell it that, oh, hold reference to this element, and then perform any normal HTML operations, any normal as you saw, some basic JavaScript operations on this element. Okay, so that is the way I understood refs. Cool. So let's do that. Let's use it. I hope again that made sense a bit about what we are doing with refs. Cool. So in our case, we want to create a ref. So I am going to say, like, let's create a variable called as canvas ref, and we can use a hook, which is nothing but a special function given by React called as useRef, which is imported from React. UseRef, we can initially say that do not hold reference to anything. It is null. Now let's take this canvas ref, and we want to hold a reference to this canvas element, not the div above, but the canvas element. So I should technically assign the ref, which is a property, which is an attribute that exists on our canvas on React JSX, and pass it canvas ref. Okay, so now my canvas ref holds a reference to this canvas element. Okay, this canvas HTML element, and now we can perform operations on it. Okay, so what kind of operations do we want to perform? Also, currently, what is the type of this? It is a ref object, but we want to nail down the type to be so that it knows it later. Or actually, let's first see the error, and then it will help you understand it better. So where am I going? What was it doing? Yes, so we want to hold a reference to this uh, canvas element, and we want to tell it that when user presses the mouse button, start drawing. So how do we do that? So step one, we want to get the uh, we want to know if this canvas ref is currently holding this value. So I'm going to assign another variable, const canvas equals to canvas ref dot current. Okay, what does this mean? So ref have this property called as the current, which is nothing but whatever is the current value of this ref. So initially the current value of this ref is null, so this canvas variable will by default be null. But at some point when the whole thing has finished rendering or re-rendering, then the value would be updated. Okay, so when is that sometime? So once the DOM is painted, you might hear this term. Someone will use this term saying that, oh, the DOM is painted. What does that mean? So it basically means that on reload, initially, if you see there is this slight gap between when it shows the div versus when it like shows other thing else. Like there is a waterfall kind of thing that happens. It first loads the HTML, uh, the index.html, and then it combines all the JavaScript and starts loading that part. So there is a gap in between. So this ref that you have assigned, which is in your code but not in here, is assigned, or React comes to know about it once the DOM has been painted. So what I'm doing right now is going to be wrong. Why? Because React will know the value of this canvas ref, or it will know that, oh, I have to hold a reference to this canvas after the DOM is painted. So we need to put it inside a side effect. Okay, a side effect is nothing but something that runs on the side. Okay, as the name says, something that runs on the side, it is side effect. And to run a side effect, React gives us a very nice hook, again a special function called use effect. So while the DOM is being painted being in this case being loaded, elements are going into their slots. Index.html is loaded, your JavaScript is loading, CSS has been loaded. uh, while that is happening, or once that fill is completed, then you want to check if this canvas ref is currently, like, has React understood, or does React at this point know that it needs to hold a reference to this canvas element. So that is why we want to run it as a side effect, and we want to run it once. Okay, we want to run it once after everything has loaded. So I'm going to put after this curly brackets, comma, and I'm going to put an empty dependency array, which means that only run it once after, on the first load. Okay, on the first load, when the page has been loaded, run this side effect once. That's it. You can read again more about use effect by going here and reading about use effect. React.dev, best place, the best documentation you can have, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion. Okay, so I I'm taking the current value, assigning it to this canvas. Uh, Let me know if at any point it becomes confusing. This is a variable, and this is a HTML element. Okay, two different things. Let's call it my canvas. uh, I don't like my canvas, that's very weird name. Canvas. If canvas, okay, which means that since it is null initially, canvas could this canvas could be null, this canvas variable could be null. So we are going to do a condition check that if it is not null. How do we do that? We can just do if canvas, which means that if it is not null, okay, the if condition will check if it is null or not null. If it is not null, then we want to do some stuff. Okay, else we can just say clg or console log waiting dot dot dot. And if this is present, let's say console log canvas found. Now let's go over to our this one, and I'm going to clear my console, and I'm going to do empty cache and hard reload. Okay, canvas found, canvas found. It was quick enough. Okay, to get the canvas. Perfect. Hmm. Why is it happening twice? This is because of the React strict mode. Okay, so the strict mode, it helps you find common bugs during early development. It re-renders twice, so that if you are depending that, oh, this page will only re-render once, React is like, What if it re-renders twice? What will you do then? So that's why strict mode re-renders twice, and that's why you see it printed twice. It's coming from canvas component line number 9. Anyways, uh, so that's about our use effect. Uh, when will you see this waiting? Like, because it's very quick, I don't think you will, unless you wrap it in some timeout. You say that, oh, do this after 10 seconds, then you will see it is waiting, and then it will be like, oh, found it. Anyways, uh, I'm going to remove the else block because it does not help me in any way, shape, or form. Only in the if block. I want to first get the width and height of my canvas. Okay, where canvas is this canvas, which is nothing like, sorry, where canvas is this canvas, we have assigned it a width and height. I want to get that width and height. So I can destructure it out from canvas, which is this variable which holds a reference to this particular canvas, dot get bounding client rectangle or rect. And now it tells me an error. It says, what are you trying to get from this canvas variable? This does not exist. So this is where the types will help us. So we can say that the type of this canvas ref is a HTML canvas element, or it could be null. And now suddenly that error is gone, because now it understands, and also it will start giving me uh, code completions. It was not giving that to me before, because it was like, I have no idea what you're trying to do. But now it understands that, and it starts giving me code completion as well, because it knows that this canvas will ultimately be a HTML canvas element, and these properties exist on a HTML canvas element. So we want to destruct, we can get all these things. Okay, we can get the x coordinate and y coordinate of my canvas element, the top, the right, the left, the height, the bottom. So what I'm curious about is currently the width and height. So let me do that. So width and height, we want to take these two variables out from my canvas get bounding rectangle, and let's also console log that. So I'm going to console log width and height. And if I go over here, reload, there we go. Whatever width and height I had assigned here, it gets me that. Now, if you notice, even though this is the width and height, if you go over this one and you see the style, uh, actually the part which is inside uh, the border is 846 cross 596. So there is a slight mismatch between the width and height value versus what is actually rendered without the border. But this width and height takes in account the border as well, which is fine. Okay, 2 pixels, not a big deal. Okay, so I got the width and height. Now my canvas dot width, where my canvas is nothing but this one, I want to assign that to the width, and my canvas dot height property is to be equal to the height of the canvas element. So this canvas is the variable, and this thing was coming from here. So the reason why we do this is to avoid the blurry drawings. Okay, otherwise there will be some scaling issue. So we can do this after like let me do it with this, and then we'll comment it out and you can see the difference. For now, let's do this. So what we are saying is that, what this means is that internally to my canvas variable, set the drawing buffer size. Okay, or where, like, how do I exactly explain it? For the time being, let's go with that. if you don't do this, then there are uh, issues where the drawing looks blurry. Okay, and then I can pass the documentation to explain it better. uh, Next, I'm creating another variable ctx where we are getting the canvas dot get context. Okay, and this is a which type of context it is. It is a 2D context because we are going to do a drawing on a flat surface, so it is a 2D context of my canvas. Now what does that mean? Okay, so what is a canvas context? So canvas context is nothing but basically a drawing tool, or that is the way to tell your html or dom that I want to draw here. Okay, so canvas itself is a blank piece of paper, but you need a pencil to draw on it, and that is done by getting the context of where you tell it that, hey, in this canvas, which is the variable, I want to do a 2D drawing. Okay, and then on top of that you define what do you want to draw with. So first, what if there is no ctx? Then I don't know what to do. But if there is ctx, then I want to say that take this line cap, or basically the line ending. Okay, so we'll allow it to draw a line or color pixels, and there are three. I want it round. Oops. Okay, so the line cap will be round. The stroke style, which is the color, let's go for default black, and the width of the line, or the brush, or you can say the pixels that it colors, I want it to be 5 pixels. Okay, so there you go, and that's it. So now if I just do a quick reload here, and now if I start drawing, why is it not drawing? So we definitely missed out on something. Let's see. So I passed it canvas ref. I passed it everything technically. I don't think there is anything that is missing. Okay, so I got my canvas. Let's quickly debug. So I use the canvas ref to get a reference to my canvas, which is fine. If it is in the use effect, I am telling it that first get the canvas. Yes, and if it is the current canvas, if it is the current canvas, get the width and the height, which is fine, and that is perfect. Then const ctx is canvas dot get context, 2D context. If this ctx exists, or this context exists, then the line cap, which will be round, the stroke style, which would be 1 2 3 yeah, black color, and the default brush size, and then close this, and that's fine. That is my use effect done. Return div flex box. Have I passed it canvas ref? Yes, I have, and that's it. I can't think of anything else that would cause this problem. So we have border radius, cursor. I think so. Let me just stop and restart. Okay, so it is currently not drawing on the canvas, even though I think I have it set up properly. So let's see, can we do some debugging? Let's do some debugging very quickly. Let me console log the CTX. So it does have the canvas context. So let me just remove these two things. Interesting. Okay, so let me think. So stroke style, that is done. That is fine. This is also fine. I can't seem to think of what could have it been. Uh, use effect looks fine to me. Canvas ref is there. It actually has everything. So why is it not drawing? Do I have a color override somewhere? I hope not. But let's say if I do the color as there's my canvas where it has the reference to it, and height width is correct. Then I have the inner HTML, which is fine. So technically I have everything. Line width is done. Oof. Why is this not getting a reference? So there is a reference. There is. Hmm. 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 If anyone else has any idea, do let me know, because I think this should be working, frankly. Got the bounding rectangle, I got the width and height. All it is doing is just coloring it out. Okay, let's try with some other color. Line width is fine, which is a number. What else do I have? Mm, literally nothing. Uh, this is fine. This is fine. So app, perfect. This is fine. Canvas component exists and it is up and running. So Hmm. Ah, I think I know why. And that's a stupid mistake. I've told it the canvas, I've told it the reference, but I did not write anything for when to start drawing, right? Did I do that? Not yet. So I've told it there's the canvas, I've told it the reference, I've told it everything, but I've not told it when do you start drawing, and that's what's missing. So confused. I was like, it should start drawing, it should start drawing. But then it's like, wait, where is my mouse down event? I need to add a mouse down event for this to actually start drawing. There we go. Uh, let's start at that very quickly. Or should I do that in the second one? Let me actually push this out. Let's take this as the first step and push it out. So we have a canvas, we have a lot of things, but we don't have the drawing yet. So let's do the drawing in the second step. Hmm. Wow, that was some serious thinking as to why I have everything. Like we actually console logged everything. I was like, what? Why is it not drawing? So what we need to do is we need to define on mouse down. Okay, my on mouse down would actually be what should happen when you press the mouse button, and also what should happen once you like, let's say, mouse up. Okay, so these are two things that we need to define. So my on mouse down will be about when to start drawing. On mouse up is when to stop drawing. On mouse move, okay, yes, this would be the third one where we will do the actual drawing. And when my mouse leaves my uh, canvas, so on mouse leave, okay, what should happen? It should stop drawing, right? So if you do the left click on the mouse, that is when it should start the drawing. If you remove the left click, it should stop drawing. If you do a left click but you move outside of canvas, stop drawing. And when you actually have pressed the left click and you want to do like move your mouse around, it should continue to draw, or it should start the whole drawing. So we need to add these functions. Okay, for the time being, what I do want to do is, while we take this, let's just draw a rectangle inside this inside my canvas. So I am going to very simply take a fill style. Yes, this one. And I'm going to say take the fill style as, let's say, blue color, or I don't know what's the blue for it. So FFAA00, I don't know, yellow color. And I want to create a rectangle where it starts from, let's say, 0. Okay, a 10, 10, 100, and 100. Okay, let's start. Let's do from 0, comma 0, comma 100, comma 100. Okay, let's see what does this draw on our platform. Nothing. Okay, that's a bit meh. uh so what do I need? I need, oh, I need to fill the rectangle, not rectangle, I need to do a fill rectangle. Yeah, there we go. If I do 0, 0, then this should work, I think. Yep, there you go. So we are able to draw a rectangle. Yes. And since the rectangle is inside the canvas, the outline is skipped. Now what I need actually is the difference between this, which is not exactly visible unless we draw a line. So once we do a freehand drawing, that's when it would make much more sense, I think, about the pixelating of the pixels. Okay. So for the time being, let's just push this one so that you have at least the canvas and the canvas reference, and then we will start the drawing. Okay, so there's my canvas. We have a rectangle somewhere, fill rectangle with this color, and these things are currently not used. Okay, cool. Let me push this out, and this would be our step one of basic setup of canvas. I have a few lines which are commented. These are to do, implement, mouse functionalities. I'm actually not commenting this out. Okay, cool. So I've added two to-dos for myself so that if you take a look at this one, uh, yeah, we'll have all of it. Currently, as you see, these are in changes. If I do a git add all, these should go into the staged changes. One of them is add, which means this is a new file added, and the other one is m, which is modified because it was modified. And we can do a git commit dash m, and this would be my uh, feed step one setup canvas. Okay, and I can just do a git push. I don't have to do a force push because I'm not overwriting my history. So let's go to my GitHub, and if I go over to my commits, there should be two commits. So step one now has these changes, and this file changes. Okay, so one change and two change, and that's our canvas setup done. So you can copy technically all of this from here, and let me share that link in the chat. Okay, so there you go. Now let's start with the next step. I have around 10ish minutes for the end of this session. So let me use those 10 minutes to actually implement these mouse functionalities. Okay, someone has completed the code. Let's check it out. Doodle platform, source, canvas components, is drawing, last position for reference. X0, Y0. Why would we do that? You don't need to know the last position for sure. Yep, this is fine. Green colored, cool. Handle mouse down, handle mouse move, handle mouse up. Do you need the event listeners? I don't know. I don't think you would need event listeners. Last position would make sense if you want to keep a track of the mouse, but I don't know if you would need event listeners, frankly. Let me think. No, I don't think you would need that. Okay, cool. But yeah, this looks nice. Okay, so coming back to ours, let's see. Now we are in step 2. Let me just remove this so that we have a blank canvas. And let's implement these functionalities. So things that I want to implement. I want to implement the mouse move, yes. And currently drawing. Yes, if it is currently being drawn. So I think very simply what we had here, uh, a ref for managing the is drawing, but I would go for a use state for the time being, let's say, because in use state you also have the opportunity to set the state if it is currently drawing or not drawing. So I think that would be nicer or easier, frankly. Let's try. So uh let's move ahead, and I want to have is drawing. I think that's a nice name. Is drawing, and set is drawing, and that is going to be use state, where we want to use the current state, and we start with false, that the user is currently not drawing. uh yeah, then for our context we can also capture and save that context. So we can say const canvas context and the set canvas context. Okay, so canvas context and set canvas context, that could also be a use state. A use state is nothing but React's way of allowing you to technically manage the current state of the application. So you get the variable and you also get a setter function which allows you to update the value of this variable. Now this use state, uh, we are saying that initially it is null, that there is no canvas context. But if there is a canvas context, and we know that our canvas context is going to be a 2D rendering, I'm going to do canvas, the type as canvas rendering context 2D, or it could be null. So that pipe symbol is nothing but or. So I'm saying that, yeah, you can take this uh, canvas rendering, like this use state would be canvas rendering context, and now my canvas context would be of this type, so I'll get those autocomplete things. uh, okay, so now where I do the if ctx, okay, very simply after the line width I can just say that the set canvas context is this ctx. So now React knows that we are in this canvas context. Okay, so this holds a reference to that canvas context. Cool. Okay, so that is my use effect, and let me also console log that. So I am going to come out of all of this, and let's just do a console log of canvas context. My is drawing is currently set to false, and no one has set the is drawing to true yet, which is fine. Anyways, let's come back here, and my canvas context is currently set to null. Okay, but between rendering it should actually move to canvas rendering context. There we go. Oh, also the direction, this is an interesting property. Normally you would always read left to right, so you would check everything left to right, but you could technically also do RTL, which is right to left, okay, for drawings and stuff. So for drawing, let's say if I take my mouse, I mean, actually in mouse you would always take whatever is the start, and you would between the direction choose where you want to go, left or right. But yeah, anyways, so there is my canvas context set, which I'm not using anywhere. what else? We want to create a few functions. So let me start by creating some names. Const start drawing. That is one function that we will create. Then we also want to stop drawing. And then we also want to do the drawing, or which is, let's say, draw. So these are three functions that we will use. I can remove this to do, and I can change this to uh, like actually assign them these functions. So on mouse down, we want to do the start drawing. On mouse move, we actually want to draw. On mouse up, we want to stop drawing. And on mouse leave, when we move outside of the canvas area, we want to stop drawing. So for the time being, let's just console log these. So start drawing, stop drawing, and console log currently drawing. Drawing, spelling mistakes, currently drawing. Perfect. Okay, let's see these out. Let's check these out and see if it is actually working or not. So I will reload, and currently drawing because mouse is moving inside this. Outside, stop drawing. Currently drawing. Outside, stop drawing. This is fine, but I still have not set the part where the mouse up and mouse down. Okay, mouse move is when it's drawing, which is fine inside here, but I want it to actually start the drawing itself when the mouse is being clicked. Okay, so there you see the start drawing right now. So that is logged when the mouse is clicked and left. So actually, let's say mouse click, start drawing, mouse clicked, stop drawing, and currently drawing. So let me clear this. So it goes directly into currently drawing. I click mouse, mouse clicked, start drawing, mouse clicked, stop drawing, but it still does currently drawing. It logs currently drawing because it doesn't know that I don't have to draw on mouse move unless I have clicked on it. Outside, it does not draw because it knows that I have said that when it actually moves out of this canvas, stop drawing. So that works. But these things are still pending. And that is where my state will help me. So my state will tell it that whether you need to actually draw at this point or not draw at this point. Okay. So let's do that. Let's start the drawing. So in my start drawing, I'm going to say step one. If you are not in canvas context, so not canvas context, just return. Okay, don't do anything, just ignore everything. Okay, so this is to wait until React has loaded the reference. Next, I am going to say canvas context dot begin path. Okay, so this is to start a new drawing path. I click on MDN documentation so that you can actually read about all the like what does begin path do. There we go. Okay, so this is the MDN documentation of the beginning of the path, the drawing path, let's say. Then what should happen once you start the drawing? So this is to start a new drawing path, or basically telling that you need to start coloring from this point onwards. Okay. uh, Next we want to move to one some pixel to some pixel. So I'm going to say dot move to, and let's say move to 10 comma, or let's say 300 comma 300. And now we can set the drawing, set is drawing to true. Okay, so start drawing, move the mouse to this point, and the drawing is now going to start. Okay, this is to start the drawing. So mouse directly currently goes to this path. We need to calculate the mouse coordinates, but we will do that in a bit. Next, when it is drawing, so actually the logical sense would be start drawing, draw, and stop drawing. So drawing, so when it is drawing, what should happen? Step one, let's first check, is it supposed to draw? So if is drawing, if not is drawing, actually more like, and or not canvas context. If these two things, we can actually not use the brackets because it's a single line if return statement. So you can actually put it in line without brackets. So if it's not supposed to draw, what does this not, the exclamation is not. So not is drawing, which means that it will check if the value of this is false. If it is false, then it means that you're not supposed to draw, just return. Or if the canvas has not loaded, just return. Excuse me. So at this point, we know that canvas has loaded. So I don't have to do if canvas context. Okay, I know my canvas context is loaded. Okay, what is canvas context, by the way? That is my use state variable. Again, I will tell it to draw a line. Okay, line 2. So draw a line from 300 comma 300 to 400 comma 400. Okay, I'm telling it to do that. And what kind of line it has to be? There are multiple. You could do a circle, you could do ellipse. I'm going to say draw a stroke. Okay, which is to draw a line. Okay, cool. So this is done, and now finally stop drawing. So now we know that if we do if not canvas context, so step one, if the canvas context does not exist, then just return simply, do not do anything, ignore if the context is not available. But when you stop the drawing, what you want to do is close the path. Okay, this is to close the current drawing path. And finally, we also want to set the is drawing to false, because we have stopped drawing. We have basically, you have clicked on the left button of the mouse, you start the drawing, so set is drawing to true. You have lifted your finger up from that, set is drawing goes to false. So these are three functions that we have written. Let's go to our Doodle platform and let's see. Currently it does not say drawing or anything. I click, it draws a line. I click, it draws on the same line. Okay, it does not do anything different. It is hard coded to draw from 300 comma 300. Okay, where 300 comma 300 is nothing but your x-axis and y-axis numbers to this point. If I make it 4 or 200 comma 450, click and draws. I click here, it draws here. So we need to get the current mouse coordinates properly to actually draw, right? So let's do that. How do we get it? So I can have another function right here which says const get mouse coordinates. Coordinates. Okay, so to get the current mouse coordinates, what we need to know? We need to know the current reference of the canvas. Okay, that's how we will know where is the mouse. Okay, so to know where the mouse is right now, we need to get the current ref to the canvas. So we can just simply do what we did in the use effect. Const canvas is equal to canvas ref dot current. So I'll just copy paste that line. Okay. Next, if there is no canvas, if there is no canvas, what do we want to do? So we can do very simply, we can say that this current place counts as your 0 comma 0. So I think yes, that would be the ideal. So you can just say return the current x is 0 and the current y is 0. Count this as your uh, current x and y, or set your current x and y axis, or count your mouse to be at, wait, let me think, how do you explain it? So I'm trying to say that if it is currently, if the canvas ref dot current does not have a value, it does not have the x and y, in that case set the current set them to 0 and 0. Okay. Yes. And we actually saw that the canvas ref actually has all the width, height, x, y, all those things. We found that when we did that here, right? It has the x and y coordinates. So if they are not available, set them to 0 0. Assume that this is 0 0 position. And const, now let's create a rectangle, and that is going to be canvas dot get bounding client rectangle. So this is simply what we had done before, but instead of destructuring out the width and height, we are taking everything into a single variable right now. Now we can simply just return x is nothing but, so the x coordinate would be the rectangle dot left position, and the y coordinate would be the rectangle dot top position. And let's call these get mouse coordinates. So right here where we do the canvas context dot move to 300 comma 300, we don't want to do that. What we want to do, actually, if you also need one more, actually let's try let's try this first. uh, in my start drawing, I can simply just destructure out. We need to call the get mouse coordinates, but we need to tell it, right, where are you located. How do we do that? So we can do that by passing an event. Okay, so I'm going to tell my function to take an event. An event in HTML would be your basic event, or more like your internal events kind of. So wait, let me think. Okay, let's say an input element. Okay, let me come back on screen. So an input element, for example, can have a typing event. So you could use that technically uh, to, let's say, if the user is currently typing or not, that's an event that is happening. So events in JavaScript, what are events? Events are nothing but some actions you can think of. Events also, so event would be on an input box, it could be on a button. A button will have a click event. A mouse had these events, right? Mouse up, or mouse down. Okay, up. So on down, which is on the click is the event. You start the drawing. On mouse move, that is the movement event. You start the drawing. On mouse up, that is another event where the mouse has, like, the user has lifted off the finger from the mouse. So that is another event. So these are a few events that exist on for a mouse. You could have events for input boxes, you can have events for buttons. Button will have a click event. uh, that if something is being clicked, a checkbox will have a checked event, that if someone is checking some option. So these events implicitly exist. Also, other thing is events bubble up the DOM. So if you have a div, inside that you have a p tag, inside that you have a button. Okay, you click on the button, the click event will bubble up from button to p tag to your div. And on the div you could basically say that if, let's say, it has been clicked, I want to submit a form. Okay, so that would bubble up the DOM. Events bubble up the DOM. Event bubbling is a concept in JavaScript that ways. Okay, I just realized it's like the end of this first session. So I could, or I should, or let me just quickly, very quickly just do this. So we are taking these two x and y out, and I want to pass this event, but get mouse coordinates was not accepting an event. So let me pass in that event, and let me also console log the event itself. Okay, the type is not defined, that's why you get these red squiggly lines, which is fine. And let me change the move to x comma y, and we can also console log the x comma y. I think this should be good enough. There are two errors, but that's fine. Reload. I click, this is the x and y, and this is a synthetic base event. And as you see, this is the mouse down. When I click on it, it's a mouse down event. Currently it keeps saying that wherever I click, it is still 59 and 85. So we are not calculating the mouse coordinates properly, which is fine. But the event, that's understood. The x and y, what are they currently returning? So they are returning only one thing, which is the rectangle dot left. Okay, where rectangle is the canvas and the rectangle dot top. But we actually want to tell it that you need to take the current x axis of where the client is and do something. So we can actually try it out. I can say event will also have a client x minus this, and event dot client y minus the rectangle top. Okay, so let's log these as well. So clg event dot client x, event dot client y e, and let's say event. Okay, so since the next session is also mine, I guess this is fine. Event is 390, 266. Now it has changed to 174, 585. Now it is this one. 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 This one. So something is happening. It's drawing lines, but for the time being, just understand like the coordinates. Okay, it does the calculation and it draws the lines, which is fine. Perfect. So this is where we stop for the time being. I am not going to push this because it's not completed and it's also not correct yet. So we will stop at this point. It is currently 12:10 for me. So let's say we'll get back in 15 minutes. So 12:25, I'll 12 in 10 minutes. Okay, we'll get back in 10 minutes and we'll continue building this. Step 1 is done. Step 0 and step 1 are done. Step 2 onwards, we are building. Currently, we have gone the x and y coordinates of when the mouse click happens, where it is, and we need to get we need to calculate the mouse properly. Okay, Cool. Any questions, anyone, before we end this session? If not, then what I request from you is feedback. Uh, you can provide feedback to individual sessions, so that ways it will help MLH know how things are going. So let me actually share the link in the chat. It's a simple feedback form, should not take more than 5 minutes of your time. The link is in the chat. There you go. So should take, yeah, 5 minutes. You have to tell which stream was this. This was the Doodle platform part 1, and you can provide a rating. I'm not going to provide rating to myself. Provide a rating, give feedback, and yeah, whatever, what I did good, what I could have improved on, and things like that. uh, Again, notice that this is a beginner level session, so not exactly beginner, so you need to know JavaScript. So please do not say that, oh, it went into JavaScript too quickly. You need to know JavaScript, you need to know a bit of React. You don't have to be well versed in Canvas, because that's the idea of this project, that you understand a bit more about Canvas. uh, so also don't give a feedback saying that, oh, I knew everything that was taught. It's good. Do stay around to help others, definitely, if you know everything that will be taught. uh, but yeah, any other feedback would be really appreciated. And will this session be available on Twitch in future? It won't be available on Twitch, but it will be available on YouTube channel of Major League Hacking. So you can find the link to the YouTube channel of Major League Hacking right here. Okay, cool. So now, without wasting any other time, I think I'll end this session, and you can close Twitch. I'll send an announcement in 5 minutes, and then you can rejoin Twitch for the part 2 of this session. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And we'll continue doing the next steps. Okay. Cheers. Bye bye.